Hey everyone, welcome to Raging Recaps for episode 3 of Call of the Seven Rings. Got myself, Jeremy, playing Hector Hargraves, and with me I've got Dave.
Who plays Harm. How you doing, Jez?
Doing alright, Dave. Yourself?
I'm pretty good, mate.
It's been a big week in the D&D space for us.
Has been a big week in D&D space for us. Things have taken off.
It is. It's good fun. Lots to cover, lots to unpack in episode 3 from Call of the Seven Rings. But before we do, I thought it'd be interesting to call out that we've been pushing a little bit of content in our Buy Me a Coffee page, which Dave and Harm has contributed to in really interesting ways. And this Buy Me a Coffee page we have for people viewing and they're in the chat. It's essentially our way, or our characters' ways, to share their behind-the-scenes thoughts and experiences in like a journal format. But tell us about your style of writing these little entries, Dave.
Yeah, so Harm's got this interesting backstory where the god Anubis, god of death, god of murder, has been speaking to him and kind of, Anubis sees him as part of his, big overall plan that he's got weeded out, right? So instead of having just like a generic dear journal, this is what happened today, I've kind of framed it as sticking with the character, is that Harm is kind of taking a moment to pray and speak to his god. And he doesn't know what's happening, right? So Harm doesn't know why Anubis has told him to hang out with these people. He doesn't know why he told him that there'd be a boule that he'd need to fight and kill. None of this has been revealed to Harm. He just gets these whispers of things to go and do. And Harm's a very obedient and he's a very focused guy. He does what he's told and he does it well. And so I've just been writing these little journal entries as more of a prayer, of a response to the whispers that Harm's been receiving. So, he's a little bit mystified as to why he's with these particular people and why they love this fermented goat's milk so much.
It's so good. It's so good. Like seeing the different character entries come in, I'm lucky enough that I get to read them all before they go out. And that everyone approaches it really differently. And seeing Harm's come through, I was like, that's really fitting for the character, and it's just a interesting read.
Yes, mate.
For people out there, you can check out what we're talking about at our Buy Me a Coffee link there, buymeacoffee.com/ragingrolls. What we've also launched on that is a membership tier, which does give you access to all these different character journal entries and does help us support the stream and make cool stuff and more content for everyone. Our very own DM has donned the persona of the Overseer. He's doing something similar for this content here, and we're pushing that out free to everyone. Just to give a bit of a taste, a bit of a flavor for what's the DM's perspective as a passive observer of this land. So do check it out. It's worth a read. Did you get to check it out today, Dave?
I did. It was interesting. I had not really considered that there might be an overseer. The way that this is written talks from a very high level, astral planes type, looking at everything happening much more than he's a bad dude at the end of a campaign and 2 years later. And so I thought it was really interesting the way he kind of framed what was going on. It was really cool. I'm looking forward to it. I added an extra dimension to how I'm going to be looking at the game going forward, right?
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. The next one of those to drop is tomorrow. So if you want to receive that in your inbox, head to the Buy Me a Coffee page, become an honorary rager by subscribing as a member, or simply just sign up as a follower. Just got to put in your email address and you'll receive the DM's notes as the Overseer whenever they come out. All right, enough of that stuff, Dave. You mentioned Harm's experience with the boule. I want to go back to that since it was a pretty epic moment for Harm encountering the boule, the what we were first told was a land shark.
Land shark, yeah.
What was Harm thinking when this creature first turned up?
So moments before we see the boule sort of show up and Harm rushes in, for the first time in the campaign, my little book of names started to rumble in my pocket. So I kind of opened it up and there was a name had been scribed in there for me, not one that I had written in, which is Not the norm. Normally I'm whispered a name and I write it in there. So for a name to show up in my little book of names is interesting, and it meant that I had to attack. I had to go hardcore. So there's this idea that as soon as I see that little name there, I'm like everything. I've got to throw everything at it. I've got to use all the bells and whistles, all the tricks I've got. So Harm went hard. There was a big push to try and grapple. There was a big push to hit it hard. I think there was a couple of inflict wounds and things like that happening. It was a full on go hard on the first turn.
I loved that. I love how Harm played. You play it so well in that he's got the trait where, he'll just go and randomly ask the character, an NPC, what's your name? And then just reference the book. And for that name, what was the how did DM play it? Like you felt a burning or a warmth in the book, and you check it, and it said the belay.
And it said the belay.
That was so good. And then just
like,
charge in.
Land shark.
To charge in, and despite all the this thing being it was a monstrosity, right? It was monstrous in size. No trouble for Harm. Came in, and I picture him just grappling it and giving it suplex.
Yeah, man. Harm's been spending like the last 5 years in the backstory. Those 5 years of how he got from level 0 to level 3 and kind of started out the campaign he's been practicing. This is what he's been doing. He has been at a really, settled order of Anubis, and he's been learning his skills. He is a massive unit. He is very strong, and he is very trained on how to get in close contact and lock down the opposing unit. There's going to be a lot of grappling from Han this year. So for characters that have hitting, when he can grapple them and then shove them to the ground, there's going to be a lot of advantage hits. And I'm hoping it leads to a lot of crits.
I picture Harm as being like that old, fully ripped guy at the gym?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one?
Super ripped, super nice, like, Bowie knife shaved in mohawk, right? And you just look at him, and he's not just like weightlifting. He's not benching a few weights. He's got like every weight in the gym, and he's benching a lot of it, and a few people sitting on the bar.
Huge. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's the confidence of being able to go and wrestle and try and grapple and take down some sort of like land shark looking thing that's infused with gems and crystals, right?
Yeah. And then if we go towards the end of that encounter, I think it was Finnery that managed to deal the final blow with his salad fork of doom. Was Harm a bit annoyed with that, not getting the kill that was named in his book as the first name he encountered?
No, so I think that not getting the kill was fine, but the fact that I was holding its head as that kill was sort of finished off, the fact that I was holding it makes it okay. Yeah. So take that life essence as it passes, as it is about to transcend over and cross over into death, just taking that last bit and getting a little look at its soul. That was one of the interesting things. So I got to have a little look at its life essence. Its soul had a little bit of a taint to it. The crystals ran deep. It wasn't like a superficial thing. So, yeah.
I missed that bit of detail. Interesting.
Might have to read that one. Yes, there's that idea that like the crystals ran very deep in this monster. It wasn't just like they were attached to its body or it lived in a crystal cave. Like it had infused in its soul. So going to be very interesting to see what it's like as people are eating those crystal-infused carrots at the farm that we're going to discuss a bit later on. Yeah.
Yeah, so Finnery took down the belay in the end with the salad fork of doom.
Yeah.
What's
such a good weapon?
Saying? The Harmon absorbs souls? Does Harm absorb souls that he takes?
Not the soul itself. He sees into the soul as it's crossing over, but he absorbs life essence. So as a death domain, he's going to be using some necromancy spells very soon. So as he kind of levels up on the cleric side, he's 2. So he started out at 2 levels fighter, 1 level cleric, and with our recent level up, he's gone to 2 and 2. And he'll continue up cleric now. So the 2 levels in fighter gives me some really nice early on stuff for being able to get action surge and fighting technique and a few other things like that. So
that's pretty huge. Yeah. And I don't know if you've agreed this or if this is part of your class or race or whatever, but absorbing life essence, does that give you increased HP?
Yeah, so it's not going to be like a straight up increased HP, but it will be a vampiric touch style effect as I'm hitting them. So that'll be one of my big things going forward. Is even if it might not be the best thing for the fight, there'll be a lot of vampiric touch spells being cast.
And what does that do?
As my so that steals their life essence and gives it to me, takes HP off them as a spell and gives I think half of the HP to me. Until that point though, Robin and I, the DM of Doom, have been discussing how he's going to help me role play that I just feel really good after I kill someone. You know, I've taken their life essence and I don't need to sleep. I'm fine. I feel really energized. Hey, let's run back to town after killing all those things. Fine, right?
It's like smashing 4 cans of V and then, trying to survive after.
Yeah. Taking souls gives me wings, pretty much. Taking life essence.
Taking souls gives you wings. Love it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of this idea of, his backstory was that he was just working in a generic grave domain kind of order. And, as the crystal occurrence happened, heaps and heaps more people started coming through, and he thought he was just really good at helping them pass over quickly. And it turned out he was actually absorbing their souls of these really weakened people as he kind of held their hand. He was actually killing them without realizing. And it was kind of like somebody mentioned to him, mate, you've been doing this for 3 or 4 days now. And he's like, what are you talking about? I only just started my shift, And then it occurred to him, wait a second, I'm killing all these people, but I feel fantastic. And so he's tried to use that for good in killing a couple of rapists in back alleys and things. And then, Anubis has called him and said, actually, you're going to be part of my plans now. You're going to do what you're told. And he's very loyal and very obedient to Anubis. Why wouldn't you? He's this great being who helps you find the right people to kill.
I guess we'll find out. I do still enjoy how you just slyly check the book and ask for names. It's the best. Yeah, we'll talk more about that later once we hit towards the end of episode 3.
Yeah.
The clock continues. So,
and how's Hector going? How's Hector doing at the moment?
Hector's going well. He's, as I've been, I guess, delving more into his headspace, through the character journal entries and so on. He's an absolute pussy. He's terrified of everything. He can't believe we took it down on Belay. We saw later in the encounter with the bandits in the last episode that he was cowering behind Malchus. He hasn't found his courage yet. He's the what's the Wizard of Oz scenario? Is it the lion that hasn't found his courage?
The lion with no courage.
It's been a while. But that's him. So he'll find that somewhere, and then hopefully he'll be a bit of a force to be reckoned with.
Love it.
But at the moment,
and have you? I was going to say, sorry. Have you got much into the tinkering?
I was about to say. So there's a couple of things that I'm trying to float around. But what concerns me at the moment is I'm going to need components, and I've got to have an idea of what I want to do. And then I think I have to run that by the DM of Doom to say, here's what I want to do. What are you going to say I need to do that? And then go shopping or go hunting for those things.
Go hunting. I got some Boulay shell if you need some.
I think someone slammed that back on the table once we got back to the Chili Weasel canteen.
All right. Well, I've still got one for myself.
Excellent.
We've got some liver and a few other pieces for... we were meant to hand over to Philly back at the Chili Weasel so that he could make up some nice stews for us.
Oh, yuck.
Some Boulay stew. Look, if they're going to eat fermented goat's milk, we can have some sort of like Boulay cheeks. It's going to be great.
Oh, let's talk about the fermented goat's milk for a moment. Getting back into the Chili Weasel canteen. And the first thing that Rafe wants to do is check on his fermented goat's milk. And I did really appreciate the DM's description of it being like as thick as yogurt. You're gonna need a spoon to have this milk, and it just you don't need that visual.
Love it. I just got Mark licking his lips live on stream. It's like, Mark, this is for the cat, right? Oh yeah, sure. It's definitely for Rafe.
Oh, just disgusting. But we get back to the Chili Weasel and discover not only is there a pile of a huge jar of fermented goat's milk with something else in it. What did you say was in it?
I feel like there's some sort of animal in it, some sort of fish in it or something.
Disgusting.
Anchovies or something for sure.
And we discovered Rhea and Flint's hanging around the bar.
Yeah.
Since they were after they missed out on joining the ballet fight in episode 2, as they were still dragging their feet and looking around the side of the first circle. But we found them at the bar talking to a lovely woman we learnt to be Isabeth.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
we didn't know go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you remind me? Philly gave us something at the bar. Was that before or after meeting up with Isabeth?
He gave us
Got
something
some
at the
crystals.
bar. Oh yeah,
Was that
that's
this
right.
week or was
That's
that last week?
No, that was episode 2. So we got back to the bar, and we got back to the bar in episode 2. So before heading out to the Land Shark, and he had given us, not only has his whole tavern grown in size, has this massive amount of purple crystals right in the middle of it, and he gave us these small purple crystals, I think wrapped in metal, which we could use
like a little necklace thing.
Yeah, use to generate a magical doorway from anywhere back to his tavern. How convenient. What a great marketing ploy, right?
That is an awesome marketing ploy. I feel like that is some high level magic though. I feel like some guy who's tinkering at the bar and just comes up with a teleportation device. That's
Well, this
that's
is the
right
thing,
up
right? So Dan and I were talking about this last week, and there is the theory that Philly George, the owner of the Chili Weasel Canteen, is the big bad. Right,
big call early on.
Assuming this
Very
power,
big call
tinkering with
early.
the crystal magic. Shit's going to go down. Shit's going to go wrong with him. Right, we'll see. We'll see.
Maybe he's the big good guy. Right? Maybe kind of at the end he'll come running on in, ripped chest, with a case of fermented goat's milk on his shoulder, hurl it at the big bad, and it'll be the thing that takes him down. I'm melting.
What do you think Harm will do should Philly's name appear in the book?
Harm's obedient. He's not cruel. He's not evil. He's obedient. So, I mean, if his name were to pop up, he would need to enact on that. He may speak to Anubis on that, on Philly's behalf. But at the same time, like if that's what Anubis' path has, and if that's what his plan is, then he may need to go a little bit rogue. Be very interesting to see how that plays out, because I wonder the first time that Harm does what he's told and takes down somebody that's close to the group, what that's going to look like, if that happens, right? If that happens,
massive conflict.
Right? So, massive conflict, bit of tension could be interesting. I think there's some fun moments in campaign 1 where tension kind of came into it, especially with Zim and Red. That was interesting times. So interesting to see what happens again this season in this campaign, if there's a couple of contentious moments where it's kind of like, hey, I'm not totally on board with that.
I wonder if anyone actually ends up pissing off Harm, their name ends up in the book. Oh.
I'd be more worried if anyone pisses off Anubis. He's the one who controls the names, mate. He's the one who controls the names.
What happens if you don't obey? If there's someone in there you don't want to take out? Oh, the conflict and struggle is real.
We'll see. It's going to be interesting. These are part of the things that playing in the DM's world is going to be very fun to see. So I've left it a little bit up to him, as kind of like we saw with the Boulay. He described that this was something that Anubis wanted done. And I've kind of included the DM to kind of own that role a little bit. So it's a bit fun for him. If he's got somebody he wants us to kill in the story, he kind of can just feed that into the book. And that's it. That's part of the process now. That person's going to die. Or, either I convince the group that we need to do it, or I sneak out one night and take care of it. Right.
Now, is Harm supposed to be only knocking off the people in the book, or is like anyone fair game?
Only the people in the book, in terms of the ones he seeks out to kill, but he's not like a hired mercenary for others to give him names, if that makes sense. But as part of the group, he's definitely going to kill anyone who needs to die.
Okay.
For sure.
For anyone who needs to die. Excellently put.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to our meeting with Isabeth. I think she was a druid.
Just chilling at the bar.
We soon discovered that she was after a an escort back to Ovolo, which was convenient since that's where at least Finri wanted to head, and it was on the way to, I think, the fifth circle we were trying to track down for Flint also.
And remind me, the fifth circle is tied to Flint's mum, right? His mother.
Yes, the Flint circle. The fifth circle is definitely tied to Flint's mum. The story we've learnt so far is that Flint's lineage, his parents and so on, were put in charge as guardians of the fifth circle.
Yeah.
This all seems to be news to Flint.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I wonder, what if they're like there? What if they're some sort of necrotic, beasts at the entrance to the fifth circle, or some sort of undead still protecting it, and we need to take them down to get there.
That'd be interesting. That's dark. That's dark, Dave.
Hey, look, I've heard the DM of Doom. I've seen into his soul. There is some darkness in that, so you never know.
I can't wait till the DM of Doom's name ends up in your book. That'd be amazing.
See ya. Just the other pages get burnt out, and there's just one page in there, the Overseer.
Love it.
Can't wait for it. That'll be like the last 5 minutes of the big fight, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's down, and we need to pick me up, and suddenly the book glows. Stick my hand in the book and see the name like resurged with power. Right.
I wonder if we've just created the big bad by creating the Overseer for the DM. We shall see.
Maybe.
So we, as a party, we agreed to take Isabeth along to Ovolo. Yeah, because that's where we wanted to go anyway.
Now, just before we get too far into Isabeth's story, we've had a few people appear from our community in the game already.
Yes, we have.
Which has been fun. We've seen an inflatable cat arrive as one of the long-time servants and one of the stalwarts of the Chili Weasel canteen. It's been fantastic. And now Izzy from the Nat 30s, who's been a guest on the show and also a big supporter. Been fantastic to see Izzy in the game now, which is great. There we are in the chat. There should be a link coming up any moment. But I'm excited. That's one of the cool things about being able to be part of the stream and being part of the community, is being able to have those, people pop up and be a part of a game.
So good. It's so good to see, the inflatable cat turn up and then Isabeth turn up. And it doesn't stop there. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more. And you can actually get your own name.
Dean Adams.
Absolutely. You can get your own name or the name of your choice into our homebrew world as an NPC from our Buy Me a Coffee link.
Okay. I'm thirsty. Just saying. Buy me a coffee. That's okay.
It is cool.
So we took Izzy for a ride.
Well, before we headed off to take Izzy to Ovolo, it was strange watching our friend Finri Flattop, hell-bent to find a feathered hat. He was trying to
wonder what the go with the feather is.
I don't.
Do we know what the go with the feather is?
I'm sure it's all aesthetics, because he didn't really care if it was an enchanted hat or whatever. But he wanted this big hat with a feather in it. Didn't really say what it was for at the time, but spent a bit of time trying to track it down.
Was it like a fez with a feather in it, or was it more like a pimp hat with a feather in it? Like, did we get a solid description of the hat itself?
I picture it as being a musketeer style hat.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
Massive wide brim, one side up, feather in it.
Love it, one side up, so good.
Whether that's accurate or not, I'm not sure, but that's how it appears in my head.
Until Dan signs into the stream and tells us live on air, then that's what it is now.
That's what it is. It's now canon.
Yeah.
So yes,
can't wait till he buys us all one. That's all.
We're all going to have. I think if Finri buys everyone hats, then Hector is definitely going to buy everyone bow ties. It's just going to happen.
Love it.
We're going to be the smartest looking motor hobos in Trencasha.
Look, if Hector buys me a bow tie, I have to assume that it's a bit like the bat belt, right? That it's going to have some sort of like click it here and a little shoots out of it, right? Or as we're all trapped and I just press the button and a little laser pops out and just shoots off the ropes for us and we all escape.
That's going to happen now, for sure. The magical bow ties. Love it. The
Love
ones
it.
that spin around and stuff
Love
like that. Yeah, it's all going to happen. Anyway, so Finnery acquired his feathered hat. And the next morning we headed off. Hit the road for, I think it was a 4-day walk from Avonrath to Avolo.
Uneventful, nothing happened, right?
Well,
That's how the DM runs things.
to a degree. With Isabeth in tow, we did first encounter, not too far out of Avonrath, a farmer on the side of the road trying to wave us down. Asking for assistance. His crops were dying. He wasn't sure why. I kind of knew why, but wasn't sure how to solve it. So being the helpful party we decided there's opportunity to get our name out there, and so we jumped off our feet and tried to give him a hand.
Love it. Very friendly of us.
Oh, very friendly. It was definitely debated amongst the group just quickly. Do we help this guy? Do we just ignore him? Good won the day, and off we hopped to try and help him out. I believe
Last time we helped a farmer in campaign 1 ended up being a very long time running joke around some carrots being a certain aphrodisiac, and it turned out really well that time. We solved all the problems and it was all fantastic. How did it turn out with the farmer this time around, Jez?
Well, I think there'll be things to go back to, but it was a dead end as far as we could tell. But I think there's a bit of a trap in here. So we hit up the farmer. He told us the crops were dying, nothing was working, the water was tainted purple.
Gotcha.
Right? The water he was trying to irrigate with was tainted purple. We managed to find his source of the water, and Finnery just decided to up and tie himself off a rope and jump down this well. Lower himself down a well. Found the purple's water, and one of the best lines that I can remember to a degree from that session was when Finnery was asking, do you know the water's purple here? Or why is the water purple? And the farmer said, yes, have you seen the giant fuck off crystals on the horizon? It's from that.
It's the mountain-sized crystals, right?
Mountain-sized crystals, that's right.
Yeah.
And so we were stuck. There was purple water in the irrigation. The crops were dying. At one point, we decided to see if the water was in fact poisonous, and offered the farmer to drink some, which he did, and he promptly turned purple. And that's how we left him.
Right. We didn't bless him or anything like that. Didn't throw him a little healing.
No, I don't think we did. I think we just said, oh shit, let's just back away slowly and pretend none of this ever happened.
Yeah. Okay, lovely. How did the DM respond to our backing away? I mean, it sounds like he was setting us up to rock in and save the day, right?
It did.
Goad us into it a little bit?
It did. Look, I'm not sure. The jury's out on that one. It did feel like an easy win at face value. It was not easy. It was just like a well and crops and water. I think he did let slip oh my God, this is such an easy puzzle, guys, or something like that. And no, if it doesn't involve killing something, we just seem to not be able to figure it out.
Yeah. Mind you, we did get out of a few Puzzle Realm adventures where we didn't kill anything, so pretty well done on that. Well done on that.
Defeating anything the Puzzle Master throws at us is a bit of an achievement.
I think so.
So yeah, I'm not quite sure if that was a red herring or something we can come back to and try and resolve later.
I wonder if it might set the scene for something we see in the future, right? That maybe somebody will drop off, a load of purple water to a small village or something like that, and be the cause of something that's happening. And it's kind of one of those things where if we just saw some purple water, we might be like, oh, that's happening. Or maybe we'll see some people who have been turned purple, and knowing that the purple water can do that, we can be like, we have to find the water, or there's someone who's poisoning the water with crystals or something. So maybe a bit of a red herring, but maybe setting the scene for a future encounter that we need to be knowledgeable about. Yeah,
layering it up, I like it. And I can't wait to encounter the purple people eater, which sounds like we're going to be encountering.
Love it.
So we had to leave the farmer. No better off. In fact, worse off. Now purple.
Yeah, now purple.
Continuing on to Ovolo. One evening, actually every evening, we discovered that Isabeth is rather resourceful and able to conjure a rather large tent from thin air, which was a little bit surprising.
Certainly helpful.
I just noticed that Inflatable Cat says his cat needs attention, and there's nothing more fitting than that comment right there from Inflatable Cat.
Love it.
Sorry. So, yeah, she turns out she's pretty magical, pretty powerful. To what extent, we're not quite sure yet, or at least Hector isn't quite sure yet. A little bit skeptical of this person now, a bit wary.
I wonder if we'll have to real Isabeth voice the character Isabeth at some point during the session.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing?
That'll be interesting. Yeah.
We'll have to put that to the DM to try and sort that one out. But she did tell us a story of the fairy realm time 5 years ago and what's happening now. Did you catch this story? Do you recall?
I did not. I was indisposed and my character was asleep at this point in time. Why don't you regale us with this tale of the 5 years ago fairy realm?
Let me see if I can track it down. Isabeth told us a story that of many dimensions or planes, and some of these planes have the ability to control magic with ease. That these places can be visited, and one such place is called the fairy realm. She told us that a particular creature lives there called the Queen of the Seasons. And as befitting the name is, she can change the seasons.
That'd be great if you're a farmer.
Wouldn't it? Imagine if she could change the water and purify it as well. Make it rain. What does that say? Oh yeah, she, for some reason, doesn't like mortals, which doesn't bode well for the world of Trinkasha.
Yeah, pretty much.
Isabeth then told us of something called waystones, which are a type of doorway that exists between these two worlds. However, these doorways, these waystones, require some kind of passphrase to activate the doorway. And the rumor has it, or the stories go, that inhabitants from the fairy realm often sneak into Trinkasha and replace babies with changelings and steal the babies.
Well, that is nightmare fuel. Absolute nightmare fuel.
I just picture straight away Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Definitely. And hopefully Labyrinth was inspiration for this component.
So if we've got this Queen of Seasons who doesn't like, is the Queen of Seasons related to the people sneaking in and stealing babies, or are they separate?
Well, they're from the same plane of existence. They're both from the fairy
from the same
realm.
place. Okay, yeah. But it's not that the Queen is sending these people to do the babies. That wasn't implicitly specified, was it?
It wasn't explicitly specified, but it was implied in that she doesn't like mortals and she's stealing immortal children.
What is she doing with these mortal children?
Great question.
I see. I see.
Turns out Isabeth did find a waystone while traveling one day, but it was covered. It was covered in what looked like Elvish writing, but she was unable to read it at the time. It was found next to a road, embedded in the roots of a tree. They're rather large stones, from what I can remember. And very hopefully, she is unable to remember where she saw it.
That does sound like what would happen if you saw the sort of thing that can help you pass between planes that may affect you in your memories of the situation. I feel like that's an easily believable thing to have happened. Yeah.
So there's lots to unpack there, and it felt like that story that she told is going to have a lot of significance to the world we're in right now.
Was this like around the campfire one night, or was it something that was questioned or asked, or was it freely offered?
It was freely offered. It was around the campfire one night. She's just like, I've got a story for you. And off she went in this massive diatribe. And we've learned a lot about her and a bit about her past, and certainly the stories that her mother told her.
The stories her mother told her. There's no indication that she is a changeling, is there? And that her mother was, had her baby stolen. Could be interesting. Her mother, the Queen of Seasons, is her mother. Maybe that's how she knows what a waystone looks like.
Well, she's certainly very comfortable using magic, and the fairy realm is very comfortable controlling magic. So we shall see.
Tankasha is very new at controlling magic.
Absolutely.
Very new at controlling magic. So very interesting. Okay. Excited to see how that plays out. Excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah. And I think that's when you joined us. You joined us for the session.
Yeah, that's when my character woke up, which was very convenient of him before we went for a break. Yeah.
Massive snooze.
Yeah. That's the beauty of the digital world. Had a few real life things I needed to take care of for a little bit on Thursday night last week, so it was good to kind of get that done, and then able to join back in, which is lovely. And so when we came back, we continued on that trip, and it was pretty uneventful. Nothing happened. We just walked on to the end of the road. That was the next hour or so. Yeah.
Hang about. Really? Was it? I have a note down here that Malchus found a ring.
Found a ring? Okay, was it the one ring to rule them all?
It wasn't one ring to rule them all. I can't recall exactly where he found it, but I remember he put it on, and straight away he lost all magical connection to... thanks for the follow, Brom. He lost all magical connection to his sword. His sword was unable to talk to him. And turns out it was a ring of magic cancellation.
Interesting. Very interesting. This wouldn't be the sort of thing that Hector would be interested in messing around with, would it?
It absolutely would. I've been thinking about it all week, and I did catch your note on the sly after last week's session, and I think we can work with something like that. Yeah. Sweet.
I mean, there's a couple of interesting. So, I mean, the note that I flicked you is about the idea of having the cannonball pea shooter. So, shrinking some cannonballs down and then having them have the ring at the end of the barrel. So as the cannonballs that are shrunken down come past the ring, they pop back out to normal size and have the velocity of the cannonball being fired, but from a regular gun. So that's some serious damage right there. I was thinking about this though. We're in a world where there's going to be a lot of magic things, right? Is there a way we can amplify that so that we can kind of like cone shape disable magic things in front of us, right? So rather than just have the ring have to be worn or put on something, be able to amplify that anti-magic field. How good it'd be if there's some caster, if we can close in on them, or some sort of lock on a door that we can't break, but we can anti-magic zone and just open it like a normal door. Right?
Oh, the opportunities here really open up.
Yeah.
In a world of magic, the most powerful thing is no magic.
Yeah. It's a leveling field, right?
Really
that could be the great an anti-magic bomb. Maybe we toss that in and then it just comes down to us hacking away the big bad with our weapons 6-on-1.
That might be a little bit tougher to pull off, an anti-magic bomb, just to cancel magic, or it's like an EMP.
Yeah.
Just cancel all magic in some radius that's huge.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that down.
Some sort of electromagnetic bomb, right?
Magnetic.
Magnetic bomb. But if you think about the end of the recent Marvel cinematic, the final movie, the big fight at the end, the Power Stones don't come into it as much as a lot of really good one-on-one fighting action. And it's really well scripted, and I'm keen to see if that becomes a thing later on, where it's not purely about how much magic we can throw at something, but how we can beat things without magic, which I think could be interesting in a world where it's kind of all this magic is new. So
interesting, since most of the party are casters.
Yeah, or have at least some type of casting affinity if they're not pure casters.
Yeah.
So
So there's a few ideas we can definitely play with, and I think Hector's going to have a quiet word with the DM to find out exactly what kind of component's going to be needed.
Yeah.
And try and bring that into the session.
The DM has been hinting he's going to be very generous with magic items and things like that, right? As we saw in the very first session, magic items, we've seen a magic ring pop up. I have this feeling that he's going to be pretty generous with Hector's ability to craft cool shit. Like, I feel like that's on his agenda, and I really think he's excited that you're going to be imaginative and coming up with stuff for Hector to kind of supply. I know Mark wanted to play the Artificer at one stage, I think in campaign 1 maybe, or in some of the one-shots. And he had some cool ideas about the way he wanted to play. It was a bit like a Constantine type character where he had lots of one-off things, right? Fighting demons. But I think this idea that you've got this capability to tinker and constantly just fill the party with like, hey, here's this thing, it's going to do X, or here's this thing that you really need that was really powerful, and now I took a risk and I added something and it's worked out well. All right.
Yeah, it's interesting because some of the class features I have as the Artificer is that I can create at the moment, I can infuse at the moment up to 4 items with different things, right?
Yeah.
Now, I guess what's been limiting my imagination so far is like, am I limited to that? Or, given this anti-magic EMP we're going to make, is that something else I can do extra? I mean, that's not really an infusion, that's a build from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I haven't quite got to the point yet where I'm getting super crazy ideas, but I think I will. Like once we talk about these things like sessions like this, more crazy shit will come to the fore.
Yeah. So I'm already kind of planning out what I want you to build for Harm, which is going to be an amulet that when he takes life essence from things and kills things, kind of tops up the amulet. Right. So if he's missing 5 health points and he kills something and takes the last 10 points, well, 5 goes to him, tops him up, and 5 go to the amulet. And then when he's in need, he can kind of use the amulet like a potion. Right. And it never goes directly to the amulet. It always tops him up first, and it's kind of like an overflow. Right. But it's some sort of way for him to channel that essence into something. I've been thinking that could be something really cool, right? At some point in the future where everything's down and he just sort of taps on the amulet, use a bonus action type thing.
That's very cool. I love it. Look, this Hector is a merchant, so he's all for taking orders.
Love it. Yeah, and I think this is where the homebrew piece comes into it, right? Like DM Doom is happy for us to be creative. He wants us to be in his world and not be like, this is his world and we're just participants. He wants us to own it. He wants us to live in this world, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I mean, already within 3 sessions, we've been to a number of different places just already, and Trankasha is a fairly large continent, so I can see us being having to head to all over the place multiple times. This is going to be a campaign with a lot of travel. Which is weird, right? Because given in campaign 1, we had 1 instance of travel, which was not on script. Most of the campaign was based in Waterdeep.
In Waterdeep, just traveling down to the docks and back, and building, Voltron Megazords and stuff. But the rest of it, all in Waterdeep. And even then, our like, hey, we're going to go to this other place and check out Baldur's Gate took us like 3 episodes before we realized that was the thing we were going to do. And that it wasn't a red herring. And just imagine DM Doom just pulling his hair out like, why won't they go? Why won't they go?
And took us another month and a half to get there because of his stupid time loop city.
Oh, time loop city.
Nightmare.
And then the demise of Zim, who never made it.
He didn't make it.
Sad days.
Right. Yeah.
But Xander showed up, which was very fun for the group to have that. So, that was good times.
Xander showed up in the most epic way, almost destroying Bear in 1 hit. That was amazing.
That was lovely. I did enjoy that. But back to campaign 2. So yes, I love the travel. It's a good reminder. It means a lot of notes. A lot of notes. Who did we see? Where were we? Who did we chat to? What did they ask us? What did they say? Right? Because if it's going to be a case of we've got to go places, we can't just duck down the road from the tavern. It looks like we're going to have to do a bit of travel. Yeah, but we can get home quickly.
We can
get home to the chili.
I think we're going to need to find a way to be able to potentially jump back to other key destinations quickly too. Or is there a way to be able to jump between the different circles we find?
Yeah, could be very interesting.
I'm sure they're scattered throughout the continent.
It's funny, in all the things we've been thinking about so far, the circles have played like a fairly minor part in all the fantastic amazingness, right? They're such a big driver of the story, but all the stuff around them is still really fascinating and really interesting. And I think it kind of talks to the amount of effort that the DM is putting in to build this place out.
Yeah, full credit to him. He's been working on this place for a year. And I think as we continue to explore it, more stuff will get built out. Speaking of further exploration, Dave, on day 3 of travels between Avonrath and Avolo, we came upon a caravan stopped on the road ahead.
Yeah, there was some really nice bloke at the front of the caravan, and Harm just walked up and said, "Hey, how you doing? What's your name, sorry?"
Yeah, checking names, love it.
Just had the book in his hand, just flicked a few pages, what's your name? And it was an interesting little chat. Turned out his name was the bandit leader, and we were in the middle of an ambush, and there was something like 15 bad dudes hanging around us.
There was a lot of bad dudes.
There was a lot of bad dudes.
I think we haven't quite escaped the premise of a bunch of murder hobos just yet, because 15, 16 guys against us, we probably shouldn't have taken them on, but we did.
We did. I believe that Raya decided they were evil and they needed to go, and we didn't convince him otherwise, so he was going to take them down. I'm just saying, Harm did offer an olive branch if the bandit would submit and give Rafe some kitty scritches, then it was fine. Rafe apparently did not mean that and misheard something, and when he asked, he thought somebody was offering a hand job or something, and was really confused, but decided he did not want to get a scritch from the bandit leader, who politely asked for consent. And anyway, moments after that, it was all on for hell and leather. It was full ball.
It really was.
At which point the Boulay memories for Harm came back into play, and he went hardcore on the leader. There was I think there was a hammer hit. There was an attempt to grapple. I think we hit him for a significant amount of points in the first round, which is Harm's way. Go hard, go early, get them to the ground quickly. So
I love your cleric fighter, like just this weapon of Anubis is amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bandit leader was taken out quite early, and poor old Hector up the end was sniped by a bandit hanging behind the trees, and Hector's pretty squishy. He wasn't enjoying getting pinned in the shoulder by an arrow.
Yeah, was it some dude from behind a tree? Was there someone right behind him? What was they were spread out, right?
They were spread out all over either side of the road. He was off to the left of the road, hidden behind a tree. Because of course we didn't see them until they all presented themselves, and they were all over the place. Robin Hood style.
one of us for some reason just wandered up to the dude in the middle of the road in an obvious ambush and just said, "Hello, what's your name?" Nobody had a perception check to see what was going on or check for insight or anything. Just wandered up, "Hey, how you doing?" So, it could be interesting if we follow that path in future times, or if we get a little bit more perceptive. But, we rage, we roll, we rarely check for ambushes.
Yes. No, that was good. And what was Harm's thinking behind, surely if the bandit leader would enjoy giving Rafe a scritch, then everything should be sweet.
Well, look, it's in real life, you shake hands and you grin and bear it and you sit down and talk. And Rafe was calling and seeing if somebody would give him a hand job or a scritch or a scratch or something is what I heard over the battlefield. So I just asked the question. I thought, like maybe that's Rafe's version of a handshake and getting calm. If somebody would give him a scrap and a patch, a little pat and a scratch behind the ears or something. Turns out that's not what he meant, but it's not going to stop me from offering all big bads that opportunity going forward. Right.
Oh, that's going to go down well
when I get close. That's going to go down well. Yeah. Yeah. So, there's going to be a lot of that going forth, I think, now that it's happened once. I feel like that's what our party does, latches onto something and just keeps it going for a while.
Oh, it'll run for a long time. We don't quite know what these bandits, if they're after a particular thing, particular item. There was a specific reason they pulled over this caravan of people.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I think it was interesting that we don't know, but it seemed like maybe that they had ulterior motives, like maybe they were using the people they had pulled over as an ambush for future things, and we just happened to wander along. But they offered us a job.
They did.
They said to us, "Hey, look, why don't you work for us?" At which point we went, "Well, I mean, no, it's not how this works." But they wanted us to go into town and collect something for them.
They did. No, they wanted us to pull a job for them, a heist.
Yeah,
That's right. Collect a chest from somewhere, but
yeah, could have been a very different outcome for them because they went from offering us a job to ending up dead on the road. The majority of them. There's a few left over, including one familiar face. But they offered us a job, so yeah, going to pick something up. But it was an interesting idea, right? Like, here's some randoms who were sending us into a dangerous situation to collect a chest for them, but won't tell us what's in the chest, but will give us a small percentage of what they collect. Like, oh, I don't know if that works. We don't know you very well yet, right?
it's hard to get to know them if they're all dead on the floor.
Well, Raya was pretty convinced they're evil, and he seemed to have a lot of sway in the group. So, yeah. But I'm wondering if that's going to be the continued murder hobo-ness, or whether or not we're going to be able to revert to talking things out.
We shall see, right?
Talking things through further.
It's going to be a little challenging to convince two Death Domain clerics to not kill. We'll give it a go.
Look, Harm's obedient. Raya seems to have very much a line in the sand of evil versus not evil. So, if the name's not in Harm's book, he's not going out of his way to hurt anyone. He'll defend himself and his crew, his companions, but he's not going to be starting the fights. But heaven forbid anyone does start a fight with him.
He's just going to be a fighter cleric diplomat. Right.
Fighter cleric diplomat, yeah. Until his book glows with a name in it, in which case it's all on. There is no diplomacy.
Can I ask what background Harm is, or is that yet to be revealed?
I think it's a fairly... Do you mean as in, like, out of the book backgrounds?
Yeah.
I think it's a fairly standard, like, acolyte or something like that. Like, it's a fairly standard cleric build, yeah. Not too special.
Okay.
Not too special. Yeah.
There was... two particular events which come to mind for me, and we talk about the bandit incident or encounter. Yeah. One was when Flint lined up the bandit leader with his rifle from about 100 feet away for a headshot, and then decided, no, yeah, I got him in the head. Don't really want him to die. I'm going to shoot him through the cheek.
Through the cheek, yeah.
Which is just nasty, man. That's just...
Very. Will it be worth it on the next round of attacks if Harm just crushes his skull? Good shot.
Oh my god. But we still have, I think you mentioned...
No meta gaming, so I don't know why he took a shot on the cheek, right? Not through the eye socket. I guess we'll find out.
We shall find out. We still have a couple of bandits still standing, and one such bandit is known to Finnery. Finnery was very keen to have a ceasefire and talk it out. Yeah. Was that your second interesting thing? The call for a ceasefire and a known person? The known person, yeah. Finnery had a bit of a chat to Hector through session 3, and I think that plays into it to some degree. So there are certainly... Finnery has a bit of a stake in Ovolo when the goings on there, and I don't want to give too much of what his backstory away is from the limited amount I know.
Campfire set, campfire.
Yeah.
Campfire stops, yeah.
But diplomacy is probably a good move to see how that plays out. But if it's not, if it ends up, they'll end up with squashed faces on the ground. So be it. I'm sure the story will just unfold in another way.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It'll be very interesting to see. So that's where we're kind of heading tomorrow night. That's where we'll kick off midway through just the top of the turn of a round of combat. So it should be very interesting to see what goes on.
There's been a lot of chat behind the scenes with the Raging Rolls on like, shit, how are we going to resolve this encounter? Are we going to kill them all? Are we going to not kill them all? No metagaming, of course, but just trying to not get lost when we go live and like, oh shit, what are we doing? What do you think will happen after that? Let's take two scenarios into account. They're dead or they're not dead.
Well, I think that there's the bigger picture is we're heading to town. Are we heading to town with information about something that's going on that the bandits were trying to get us to do or keep us from knowing about? Or are they all going to be dead and we're not going to be having any information at all? So I kind of see that as like we're going to town, but whether or not we're going with extra information from the bandits is going to be key. Because if they're all dead, we can't talk to them. We can, but we don't have those spells yet. But if they're alive, or one of them is a friendly, then that changes the story. If we can trust them and believe them, we might have an in the town that can help us understand what the next step is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't mind keeping a bit of a balance here between life and death. Of 16 bandits, yeah, maybe we don't need 16 to live. Certainly the right one or two to live could be handy. So I take as hostages or what's the word I'm looking for? Prisoners into Volo?
Prisoners,
Captives, that's the one.
Captives.
And see where Finnery takes us in Ovolo. It feels like there's a lot of depth in his story there, and I'm excited to see where that goes and how far away from Ovolo the Fifth Circle is.
Yeah, I'm keen to learn about the different towns in Trancaja in this campaign, like understanding, is this town the one that's full of magical things? Is this one the one that's full of religious people that hate magic? Is this the one that hasn't really rebuilt since the schools? Like I'm keen to understand what the trade routes are, what the unique things about different locations are. Being in Waterdeep was Waterdeep, right? So now we've got this opportunity to go to all these different locations and find out about them. Maybe there's a reason we need to go back. Maybe there's something we need to buy. Maybe there's someone we need to speak to. Maybe there's a particular thing we need to do that's religion based. So therefore we need to go to the town that's full of religious zealots and things. I'm very keen to see what this holds for us and how this kind of plays out as part of the overall traveling scenario.
So how much of the homebrew world of the Legend Keeper wiki, for lack of a better term, have you explored? Would you go and read up on Ovolo before our next session or not?
Not before the session. I'll read up on it once we visit it. I'll go and read the notes on it to understand it. But I kind of I want to get there and explore it a little bit and hear what the DM tells us. And then once we've kind of been there, then I'll go and read up on his notes to get a better understanding of it. But I'm trying to play it a little bit like Harm has been sheltered. He's been learning about his techniques and how to be effective at obeying murder commands. And he's not really left, that order that he was at in the original, whether, not far from the Chile. And it's kind of like now he's exploring. This is one of the big things, Anubis said that he would join these people and explore and meet a lot of new people, and a lot more names would appear in his book. And it's like, okay, great. Well, now I'm going to go do that. So rather than rock up and be like, I know all about this place, it's going to be more like he was sheltered for 5 years. He's going to rock up and find out a lot of information. It's going to be very cool.
So has Harm been locked away, or has he been just focused?
He's been focused. He's not been like a prisoner. He's just been like a monk training in like a retreat in the middle of the mountains, right? They're so focused on what they're doing. They wake up, they go through their routines, they spend time meditating, they do their physical fitness, they practice all their different techniques, right? That's kind of what Harm's been doing. Ever since he got called, he went from being a total noob who was just a dude who helped people die graciously to being an absolute weapon who feels no fear in trying to grapple with a monster that's inflicted with crystals to its soul, right? Like that's a 5-year campaign of like training and meditation and trusting Anubis and all this sort of stuff. So, and now his eyes have been opened.
Even though Harm has never actually practiced taking down a belay by hand in the mountains or as a recluse in training. First instance seeing one, just no sweat, I got this.
He's obedient.
No hesitation.
He was like, I'm going to do it. No hesitation. Why would I? I don't need any hesitation. Anubis told me to kill it. I'm going to be able to kill it. Let's do it. Let's get in there.
So that brings us up to date with where we are in the session. Next up, we have episode 4 airing tomorrow from 8:30 p.m. Sydney time. I do have a couple of other questions for Harm or yourself, Dave.
Sure, let's do it.
Answer what you want. Obviously, don't answer whatever you want. Also, is Harm got any suspicions of any other characters in our party?
Why would he be suspicious? Why? There's no reason to be suspicious. He's a very non-suspicious person. Definitely.
Right.
Definitely no suspicion.
Yes. I can see that being roll an insight check.
Roll an insight check, if you will. So him and Raya have a bit of backstory, both being Death Domain clerics. Raya is not specifically a weapon of Anubis in the same way that Harm is. Raya has much more of a good and evil streak to him that he's kind of controlled by, right? But he and Harm are friends and companions. They spend a lot of time around each other over the last couple of years. So there's going to be a lot of like, dude, where's my car? Dude, what does mine say? Sweet. What does mine say? Dude.
Excellent.
And a lot of the, like when you and I played some soldiers in one of the one shots, the Death House one shot. Hey, remember that time on the battlefield?
Yeah.
All right. Just in every situation. So that stuff's still going to come out, but that'll be some fun things.
So metagaming the hell out of this right now, but wouldn't that put a lot of pressure on Harm to try and control Raya? And maybe not everything is as black and white as good and evil.
Maybe not.
No.
Depends if Raya wants to keep somebody alive because he thinks they're good, but Anubis tells them that they're bad. Could be some tension there. Could be interesting. Raya might be the voice of wisdom or the voice of confrontation if Raya knows about a name in the book that Harm doesn't let on to the rest of the group. Or we were discussing the book before. If somebody's name comes up, like what if Philly's name popped up in the book, what would you do? Harm trusts Raya pretty well, pretty tight. Might go and have a chat about things. May or may not have the same sort of chat with other people in the group, depending on whether he's suspicious of them for any reason.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. Yeah. Who are you most excited in our group to see step up and shine?
I'm keen to see what Malchus is bringing to the table.
Me too.
I'm very unsure about what's going on with Malchus. One, I'm keen for, a new person to the group to kind of really get into it, and I'm keen to see him kind of unwind. And plus, he's got a really cool thing going on with his little bit around speaking to things and doing things. And I'm just keen to see what's going on. All right, keen to understand his character a little bit more, and then kind of see it open up and have that influence on the group. Like Raya has already had a really clear influence on the group. Rafe has had a really big influence on the group already, right? I think Hector's going to have a big influence as he becomes a really big kind of like supplier of cool stuff going forward. Yeah, keen to see what happens with Malchus.
Yeah,
going to be very
agree.
interesting.
I completely agree.
And what about yourself? What's your big interesting thing to kind of see over the next few weeks as characters open up a little?
Two things. I'm really keen also to see how Malchus, shows up, I guess. The kind of cool, because he's got a bunch of cool shit and a bunch of cool backstory to try and unpick. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm actually also really interested to see how our Druid plays out. Given it was a fairly complex scenario trying to squeeze a Druid of the stars into the world, to see how that then, turns up in the story is going to be really interesting.
Hinsy's got a complex story ahead of her to unfold, how she fits into this world and how she engages with this world, right? As somebody who is not playing a traditional kind of druid, right? So not playing like your regular just druid. It's kind of like, well, druids didn't really exist a couple of years ago. None of the classes as their standard class existed. So it'd be interesting to see how it kind of plays out in terms of playing the story, playing the loving of nature. Maybe doesn't like death very much, which could be really tough in a murder hobo group, but also a group with two death clerics. So yeah, could be very interesting to see how that plays out. Very interesting.
Yeah, that might take us one episode, might take us half a dozen or more. We could be on the continent of Trankasha for a year, or who knows how long.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
that we might wrap up our conversation there, Dave. Thanks very much for hanging out with me this evening.
Thank you, mate. Good to have a little bit of a chat. Talk season 2, campaign 2, and a few friends in the chat.
Yes. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And don't forget, check out our website, ragingrolls.com, and the more active bit of content we have available on buymeacoffee.com/ragingrolls. And as always, so go ahead, Dave.
We'll wrap up. There's a few things I was going to say. Brum, the Nat One Digital Artist, joined us because he saw the tweet go out. So not a worst idea to follow us on a couple of the socials like Twitter, right, or Facebook, but also the campaign 2 podcast is about to launch.
Oh, that's exciting.
It touches on those, and we'll have the first 3 episodes up this week, and then episode 4 will be up as soon as we've been able to get it transcribed and all tailored. So, yeah, very exciting for that to launch as well.
That's amazing. Raging Rolls on all the channels. Just pick one, find us, you'll get us.
That's it.
Oh, and always, also, we are giving away a digital or physical copy of the newly released Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft when we hit 250 followers.
We'd love to do that this week, right? Like tomorrow night, we'd love to pick up the rest of the followers. So, if you've got friends, tell them about it, get them on board, and get your chance to win the new book.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're in the chat now and you're not following us, it's really easy. Hit that little follow button. You'll see a nice big alert pop up on the screen, and you'll be in the mix to join us on the night when we hit 250, and might grab yourself a copy of Van Richten's. We're hearing loads of good things about that. Our very own Finry Flattop has got himself a copy, and he's a few pages in and absolutely loving it.
I wouldn't be surprised if he is nose to parchment right now, just smashing through it.
It's funny, actually. He was set up to join us this evening, but he's like, hang on guys. I actually want to take the evening out and just read my Van Richten's copy today. It's like, fine, understand.
We get it.
You got to do what you got to do. But yeah, join us, follow us, get in the mix, the running for your copy of Van Richten's.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Jez.
Thanks, Dave. Don't forget, everyone, Thursday, 8:30 tomorrow night. We'll see you then for episode 4. Thanks for raging and rolling. Bye.